We are edyou. We are changing the way that people learn online. We make online learning efficient, fun, easy, and engaging. We combine the best of the old school classroom with new technology. Thanks a lot.
Questions from the judges, please.
Where are you going to get your teachers?
So there's a lot of content out there already, and there's teachers from Stanford, Yale, Harvard who've already uploaded their lectures to different sources like YouTube, so we're just pulling in that content.
So do you have to have their permission to do that?
No, there's open APIs. We just pull all that in. We're just structuring it a lot better than these other places. When you go to YouTube and you search algebra, music videos come up. If like algebra's in the title, there's like joke videos and stuff like that. So we put that crappy content, and then it goes into a curriculum where it's structured appropriately.
So who's creating the curriculum? Sorry.
It's from top professors out there already who have given access to different sites to allow them to upload it.
So, no, but how are you going to make sure that the YouTube videos that you're going to get for algebra are going to be the ones that you want rather than music?
Yeah, so we put tags on them. So if it's like, I don't know exactly what the URL would be, but like youtube.com/edyou Stanford, that'll get pulled in, but it's a way to filter for the content that we don't want.
So you don't think you're going to run into an issue where you're monetizing free content?
Well, we're not trying to monetize that content necessarily. We're trying to monetize the additional features that we're adding on top of that, and then local community courses, or if someone creates their own course within our system.
And then my other question was, is this like education period, or is this targeted towards high school, college, post-grad?
So the target initially is lifelong learners, people that are out of school. And the reason we think that is because it's not going to be accredited. And I don't see this replacing traditional school anytime soon, at least not before the next 5 to 10 years, where people would come to this and think they can get more value than actually getting a piece of paper from the university.
So I love the idea of social learning. I think it's fantastic because that's what you guys are doing here, right? Startup Weekend, you guys are doing social learning. You guys are getting together, you're building product, you're trying to get it out there. So that part that you said, to me, really struck a chord, and I'd love to know what it is that you're going to do that's going to be the social learning aspect of it. Because once you figure out the demographic and you target it,
Yeah.
how do you get them to really participate with this? What is your go-to-market on that?
Yeah, so that's a challenge. I mean, you're not going to a classroom, you're not seeing people live, but there is going to be features that you can engage with other people who are studying the same topics that you are. So there's discussion forums, there's the ability to engage with them and have interaction back and forth, just like you would on a discussion section of a blog. So that's one way, and then there's also crowdsourcing content together to create assessments. And so the more, as the network grows, the content gets better, the curriculums get structured more appropriately and better, and so the community is curating content and making it better over time.
So I'm just thinking out loud here, but there are other places that are trying to do what you guys are doing. And something that made me really excited when you started talking was, I thought for a moment, wow, wouldn't it be cool if I could take an algebra class from the country's best algebra professor? Wouldn't that be awesome? I wouldn't have to go to Stanford to get it done, or maybe algebra's not the right. But or what if I could take the best literature class from the single best professor in the entire country? That to me has got a lot of value versus you guys trying to pull together maybe content that you are not, you're charging people to access content that's already free, and there is some value in that, but my point is that other people are doing that already. So what is it that you guys are going to do different? I know you, Greg, obviously, so I know where you're trying to go, but I don't think you're there yet. I think you guys are close to the idea, but I don't think you nailed it. And I would, if I could go to a place online that I was guaranteed to see the top 5 classes as ranked by my peers of the best class in physics, I would probably take it even if I don't have a huge interest in physics, because I want to get excited about it.
Yeah.
And I'd probably want to talk to you about it as well. Because, hey, you're taking it as well. What did you think of that part? It'd be awesome.
Right, so I'm wondering if there isn't an opportunity for you actually to go to these professors at these universities and say, hey, let's create a class specifically online. We think that you're in the top 5% of the teachers in the country, or maybe even in the world.
Yeah.
And then you have to put together a curriculum.
So there is a site out there that does that. They go and they find the best professors around the country, and then they package them into the series, 30 lectures into a DVD series, and they sell them for a couple $100 to really old people who want to study ancient Greece and throw in 36 hours of content. we don't see our users coming and having that discipline to stay on our site and go through all of that. So we think that the best content comes in the form of a curriculum, and it's curated by our community. So they're coming in and they're taking this lecture that's been rated really high from Stanford on algebra, for the one kid there, that whatever. And then lectures from all other places that have been rated high, and other content, blogs, articles. I mean, it'd be really like in the startup world. Some of the best content out there is off of people's blogs, as opposed to like an entrepreneur professor from some university. So they pull all that curriculum together, and then that curriculum is rated, and that's where we think there's a lot of value, and you'll get access to the best curriculum.
So you're having to put together the curriculum in that instance, right?
Our community is curating the curriculum. So over time, it gets really awesome. At first, it's just a tool, and there's going to be some features and some metrics that add value over other systems, but over time it becomes great. The curriculum is really vetted, and it's awesome.
So one thing I'm still struggling with from a adoption model is how you guys get user behavior to change. Where if I know that there's stuff on YouTube and I can run a Google search, which is what we all do, to get to the content, how do you guys affect the change so that I know to come to edyou and browse through your content to get to what I think is the same end goal?
Yeah. So a user who, we think we add a lot more value than YouTube, but obviously that's like the de facto place where you go to find something right now, as you mentioned. So if you go there and you search algebra, like Algebra Bassett pops up. Like Angela Bassett's like a play on her, and it's a rap video. So in that first line, like in the top 10 results, there's 5 things that are really shitty. So if we get a user over our site, there isn't that terrible content, and it's structured more appropriately, and they can have a structured learning path. So once we get them there, we think that they'll stay if they really want to engage in real learning.
So you guys are a content aggregation and SEO.
Yeah, exactly.
I would really, really say that it's very difficult, speaking from personal experience, to change user behavior. It's about the most difficult thing you can possibly do in life. Again, I'm not passing judgment on whether this will work or not, but I would say that if you could focus into one specific thing that you can do best and better than anyone else, you will start getting people, if you can do it. Otherwise, people are gonna come and they're gonna just go, well, this was useless, and they won't recommend you. They won't. So Wikipedia, for example, while people said, hey, you know what, everyone went to Wikipedia because all the articles and everything is there, that wasn't the case at the beginning. In fact, there was, you couldn't find everything about the world there. What you could find at Wikipedia very early on was pieces about countries. And that was one of the things that would draw people in. Hey, you know what, the CIA fact book is kind of there, but this is being filled out by people. I can actually go look up certain people or interests or things like that. So if you can be really good at something, eventually it'll grow to what you want it to be, but focus on the thing. That's just my perspective.
Questions from the audience?
So I'm a student right now, and I know that a lot of professors put out their own books that I have to buy, which sucks. But, I do listen to a lot of the Yale conferences and lectures for economics and whatnot. These are smart people. What's to say that they're not going to come to you and be like, hey, I'm not making a cut of this? That's going to destroy your monetization structure.
So their content's already available on many other sites. MIT.
But if you're packaging it, isn't it? You're selling it. You're selling what they've already put out there. So they're going to come in and be like, hey, let's copyright this.
Yeah, so we're actually not selling the free content that's already out there. It's more about the features that we're creating on top of it and the structure that we're putting to it. So we're charging users for additional features or get access to analytics, not necessarily the content of like the free courses or the free lectures.
Can you hear in the back there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to ask you if you heard about the site together.
Yes.
They sound really similar to what you do, except for they don't search for them and something like that.
Yeah, so that's one of the biggest competitors. It's a great site. They're basically just video-based, and they provide some engagement, but they don't have other resources for people to learn in different ways. If you learn better by potentially.
So just something to think about is, from what you pitched, your business is actually, Ari and I were just talking about it, your business is actually SEO. Your business isn't necessarily education.
getting users to the site. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
So, is that the business strategy?
I mean, we want to improve education. So we want to get users there. Once we get them there, we think that will improve the learning process.
I would just think about that. Like, is there a way you can get really good at improving the educational experience versus having to get really good at SEO? Because if there's free content online, you're never going to get people to pay, number one. Number two, the only way you're going to get people there is through SEO. So if you really want to be true to, I think, what your mission is to improve education, like by trying to monetize free content, probably way to get there.
The mission is awesome. I think there's better models that will get you to your end game faster.
You know what I would love, and this is just me because I love learning. I love it. I do. I mean, this is it. If you could have a Stanford professor there, you've got the video, they're there answering questions in real time while I'm watching the video. I heard from someone on Facebook the other day, a really good guy. He read a book on a physics book. He's not a physicist. Couldn't understand something. Sent an email to the author of the physics book. Got a response back that explained the whole thing. And he said that is modern technology to the core.
I had this like in my head that there was going to be like a video of a professor standing there, and then all these little videos of like all the people like attending class, and you could press a button that would actually like raise your hand, and the professor would be like, "Hey, look, somebody in A7 is asking a question," and it was all
Virtual classroom.
yeah, virtual
Yeah.
classroom, and also like pulling in YouTube videos, and that's kind of what I had in my mind when you started.
Yeah, I mean,
Crowded market.
I think that's really interesting that it's like you'd have to still go to class at a certain time. You could sit in your underwear on your couch, but you know, you could just access this anytime.
Yeah. So there's anywhere from 6,000 to 60,000 academics work under Twitter from the hashtag, Henry in front. So at any given time, there's 60,000 to 60,000 academics who they're part of a community on Twitter. They go under the hashtag of co-learning or educomma. And they're constantly trying to curate educational content anywhere from kindergarten through college. And they are struggling to do this right now. Why are you going to succeed when 60,000 academics who understand all of the material, the students, the styles of learning? What do you got that they don't have?
They're trying to curate educational content.
You
from
had in
Twitter.
your presentation that you're going to curate the content for crowdsourced assessments, right?
Yeah.
So how are you going to beat 60,000 academics who are really struggling to do that right?
We're gonna have a network of users that are curating this content, putting it into, structuring it into curriculum, and then other users benefit from that. So it's kind of like Wikipedia. I mean, when it first started, you wouldn't imagine that would be like the place that we search and get knowledge. Whether it's right or not, a lot of us use it. So I think you can get something at the end of the day that's great with a huge network.
Well, I guess my question about this is it disconnected? I mean, are they doing it all through Twitter? Or do they have
it's not all through Twitter.
do they have a central place that
yeah,
they're doing this at?
I mean, there's different hubs, right? I mean, it's an international effort, right?
Right.
And so that's a large community. They're having a hard time solving this problem. So I guess I'm not seeing anything that you bring into the game that they don't already have.
So maybe you look at how you can bring their efforts into a more centralized place where other people as well can communicate and bring their ideas to the table. Because as much as professors are awesome, they're not always right. So maybe there's people in the other spaces that might have some ideas that could help them out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Last question.